And we're going to just discuss, you want to make a film? Just here's how you do it. And we're going to get started by introducing our panelists. This time we'll start with Christine.
Oh, okay. Hi, I'm Christine Parker. I run the Sick Chick Flicks Film Festival in Chapel Hill. It's a yearly film festival, takes place the first weekend in October. And I've also been a filmmaker for 20 years now. We're just talking about that. I'm a partner here, Bill Mulligan. And enjoying the convention so far. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Bill Mulligan. About 20 years ago, I teach high school. One of my students said, best friend's mom was making a zombie movie. They knew I was all about zombies. So I called up Christine and said, I always loved special effects and makeup and horror. I just never found the right people, and she turned out to be the right people. Through her, I have met Dave, Michael, Patrick, so many people. I mean, it's weird when you think about that, how so many of the roads that you end up in can lead down to one point where, what if I hadn't had that student? But,
Yeah.
I don't know what I would do with my life, because from that I ended up writing a book. I mean, there's so many cool things that have happened. So that was a good moment in my life. And filmmaking, there's a lot of frustration, but there's a lot of fun. And when it's all said and done, you've got something to show for it. Which, a lot of folks get to a certain point, and it's like, what is there? We've got a whole stack. You may not like them all, but
Yeah.
and there's a lot of memories with each one too.
So many memories. Some good, some bad.
It's a great thing to get into.
So, my name is Dave Harlequin. I am the creative director of Stranger Concept Films based here in Charlotte. I am also the festival director of the Stranger Days Independent Film Festival, and I help this fine gentleman with the Con Carolinas Film Festival as well. I have been doing film for around about 10 to 15 years at this point. I first got into it, funny enough, I started out being a journalist, being more of a film critic than a filmmaker. One day, as a joke, just sitting around, you get to know all these other filmmakers, and sitting around as a joke, we should just make a movie, that'd be funny. And how hard could it be? No, whatever, I'm just going to make the one, I promise I'm never going to do it again. And then everybody else was like, yeah, you say that now.
I'm curious, what was that?
That film was called The Devil's Lettuce. It was a rehashing of an anti-drug PSA.
Yeah.
And ended up winning awards.
It ended up winning awards, and I'm like, wait, people think this is funny? And the best compliment I ever got off of that, funny enough, come from college students would come up to me at conventions, like, dude, you made The Devil's Lettuce. We watch this in our dorm, laugh our asses off, get high. You want to get high? I'm like, yeah. But seriously, then you catch the bug, and then you're infected too, and now you're making stuff that will hopefully outlive you. So I guess let's start with the main question of this panel, which is, so you want to make your own damn movie, huh? Okay. Well, you're going to need a few things to get started. And I'm going to go down the list with the panelists and things like the critical key components that you're going to for sure need to get started. I'll start with, you're going to need 3 R's. And you need all 3 of them. You need resources, rehearsals, and a really good story.
Yeah.
Resources because, this stuff costs money. At least equipment costs money. Even if you're making a film for $0 with your friends, which don't let that dissuade you, do it if you can. But equipment costs money, and if you want to ramp up your talent in any department, that costs money. Rehearsals, you really need to plan out what you're going to do. Trust me. At least have your actors know their lines, at that minimum. And a really good story, because at the heart of it in film is just storytelling.
Yeah. Absolutely right. Script. Now, I know you probably know there are Hollywood movies that are made without a finished script. That's one of the reasons why they're in the fix they're in right now. Don't do that. Get the script, polish it, say the dialogue out loud, see if it actually sounds like something a human might say. And then the resources, one of the resources is who's going to be saying these lines. It's probably going to be your friends. Your friends are lovely people. They're not all good actors. or they may have a very narrow range. And I would include myself in that as well. There's some roles I can play pretty well. I'm not going to be doing King Lear. I'm getting close to that. If you have a friend who can't help but smile every time they're delivering their lines, okay, don't give them this most serious role. Nickname them Smiley, that's their nickname, and it fits with it.
Yeah.
Don't cast kids to play old people. There's a film I actually love called Darkness, that was a Super 8 vampire film in Wichita. And the whole town is taken over by vampires. This whole town is apparently populated by 16-year-old goth kids, because that's about all that you can find to show up here. I hate to say don't be over ambitious, because I admire that actually, but be realistic. Know the sets you have. Maybe get all your friends together and pool your resources. What do we have that we can use? You find out that Kevin over there likes to collect guns and samurai swords. Kevin needs to be watched carefully, but that's a good resource to have.
We need to talk about Kevin.
We need to talk about Kevin. What was your other resources?
And a really good story. Resources, rehearsals, and a really good
Rehearsals. We'll confess, rehearsals have not been one of our strong points, and that because just getting people together to shoot is a nightmare. Getting them together.
We'll run through the scene
Yeah,
before
run
we
through
shoot it, but.
And maybe, this is nothing. If you're not working with professional actors, maybe keep the monologues down to a reasonable level. Quentin Tarantino works with people who can memorize pages and pages of dialogue. Most people can't. I've had trouble memorizing pages of dialogue that I myself wrote. There's no excuse for it, but it's not easy to do. Finding actors theatrical actors, people who do theater, they're really good at this. They're really good at memorizing stuff. They're doing it live. So they have to memorize the whole thing. That's a skill set. The only trick with them is sometimes you have to ask them to tone it down a little, because they're so used to projecting to the cheap seats, and now the camera's right up there, it can be a little broad. But they're a wonderful resource, and they're used to not getting paid very much. So, perfect.
And they have resources themselves, the costuming, lighting,
They
how
help
people to
people.
do lighting, all that type of stuff. And I would say also, before you begin, manage your expectations. Especially if you're doing indie films, don't do it because you can be famous and make a ton of money. Do it because you have a passion for it. Passion is like the number one thing you need to have to make your own movie, because that will keep you going even when things get bad. And you have to also think on your feet, be adaptable. Things don't always turn out the way you think they're going to. Just, roll with it, roll with punches, don't give up. Sometimes you have to make some bad movies before you make some good ones, Don't expect your first movie to be amazing. It might be absolutely terrible, but then the next one you make will be better. And you probably learned a whole hell of a lot on that first film. So don't be afraid to make that.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion. If you've got a great idea. Okay, first of all, an idea is not a story.
Yeah.
An awful lot of films that we get at the festival, you can tell the whole point of the film was the shock ending. That was their idea. They had a great idea for a shock ending, and they put very little time into coming up with a story to get to that ending. So it's a lot of nothing. They're like, oh, that was cool. That's not enough.
Stories have a beginning, middle, and end.
That's
It
right.
doesn't have to be in that order, but they have one.
There is story structure. There's a lot of resources on how to do story structure that people ignore at their peril. If you've got a really good idea, or maybe even a really good story, and you've never made a film before, I would recommend not making that your first one. Because Christine's right, you will learn a lot shooting that film, and if you do, you'll get it, and maybe it still kind of comes out okay, but after it's over and you shoot a few more, you'll look back at that one like, we didn't know what we were doing. I wish we could just get the whole gang together and reshoot it.
But don't let that dissuade you either, because I guarantee you, every filmmaker at this table, and anybody who's ever made a film in this audience, and anybody you're going to run into at this con, will all tell you the same thing: is we've all done it. We've all had that story, that script that was just marvelous. We didn't know what we were doing at the time. We shouldn't have made it when we made it. We could have done so much better with it now.
Yeah.
If you spend your whole film career not doing anything because you're too afraid to fail, you're not going to do anything.
But no one's first film. Steven Spielberg keeps his first films like in a safe.
He doesn't want anybody to see
No
them.
one doesn't want anyone to see them. Maybe they'll be released after
I
he
think they
dies.
should be seen so people know, you're not always going to be terrible.
Right.
You know.
Although I mean, once his earliest ones, once you see them, even just the TV movies and things, you're like, okay, this person's got it. Sometimes you run across someone who's like that. Brett Nolan, cinematographer. There's some folks who just have that eye.
I mean, he made his first movie with us, Dead of the Night, and it was really good, I thought. Yeah.
And Christine brought up something really, really good earlier, which is don't have unrealistic expectations.
Yeah.
The truth is maybe you are going to be the next Tarantino, Rodriguez, and
Chances are.
you're going to be the next Kevin Smith. You're going to be the indie person that blows up and goes huge and makes a ton of money, but you probably won't. And that's okay. That's totally okay. Make your art because you want to make your art. Not if you're in this to get rich. You're in the wrong game. You're playing the wrong game. There's a lot easier ways to make money.
There are. It's you get together with your friends. If you're musical inclined, you make a band. And your dream is you're going to be. I'll age myself here. The next Ramones or something. And chances are it's never going to really go beyond practicing in that storage unit. But okay, so you spent a weekend with your friends making music. That sounds like a good weekend, as opposed to just watching stuff on Netflix or getting high. I encourage parents, to talk to me about their kids there. It's like, get them a movie camera. Get him. A kid doesn't have any friends. He's depressed. Get him a movie camera. He'll make friends. And, do what I do. And I had a Super 8 camera. Get your bullies to pretend to be ninjas and fall out of trees, and you do it over and over and over again. It's like joining. The other thing I say is join band, because band's a cult and no one's going to have friends. It's just a great way to do things. Art for its own sake, and maybe who knows, you may come up with something that inspires someone else. Christine, her work has inspired Tara. We had this little girl, this little 12 years old. I don't know what she was.
Pigtails, yeah.
Yeah, Pigtails shows up. Oh, I really liked your film, and she was in our film, and then she started making her own films. Then her films started winning awards, and now she's a professional cosplayer and has a name for herself. That's cool. You really don't know who you're going to inspire. Sierra's amazing.
Yeah.
There's people. I run across some people who are just really talented and unaware of it. Maybe their particular talent just doesn't really resonate with their immediate family or friends or whatever, but you see it, and that little bit of encouragement can just make them blossom. And even if you don't become a superstar of anything, if you unlock that talent, that passion in other people, you're destined to live in the future because they're going to do the same thing, spread on. Cosmic here.
Yeah, you never know who you're going to inspire. You never know who you're going to reach, who you're going to touch with your work. And it's a great side effect. But I would counsel that you don't do it for that. You just make stuff because you want to make cool art, because you want to make for me at least, I make stuff because I want to make something that's going to outlive me, hopefully. But really, I just want to be a storyteller. And if one person liked it, great. Or if enough people hated it, then, that had a lasting impression. I just want to make an impression. I just want it to mean something.
And you're right. It does outlive you, and you cannot predict how. It's a kind of immortality. It's not as good as the immortality of not actually dying, but I haven't figured that one out yet. So this might be the closest I get to it.
We just did a whole panel on practical effects, and we still don't know how to do that one. Oh man, but So one thing I'm going to talk in is when you're making that first indie film of yours, or any of them since, even if you have zero budget, even if you have nothing to offer your crew other than your gratitude, please feed them.
Oh, yeah.
At the very least, at the absolute minimum.
Yeah.
God, go pizza. Like, even that. I don't care.
Once.
Yeah, you get one day of Little Caesars.
If you've got, I'll tell you the best sets that I've been on. Someone had a mom, widowed, loved her kid, didn't really understand this movie making malarkey, whatever. But mom volunteered to be the craft service person. Here's a woman who knew how to stretch a buck, feed a family on very little, and make good, nutritious food. We love that woman. We would have died for her.
Yeah.
She was the best. She was by far the most valuable person there. And you're getting real food, something, something that sticks to the ribs, not the same old junk all the time.
An army travels on his stomach, and so does a film crew.
And it just improves morale like you can't believe. The other thing, one thing to really understand, keep it short. Make your first film a short. Do not shoot a feature as your first film. That's insanity.
Yeah, that's what I did.
And for a short, I mean short.
Yeah.
And even when you get good at it.
I didn't get that. I didn't figure that out until
Short
it was
is
too
better.
late. But yeah,
We'll do a panel at Congregate about how to get into festivals. One of the first things is someone makes a half-hour film. Usually there's a time limit for a short, half hour, let's say. Someone comes to us with a 30-minute film. That film had better be firing on all cylinders and had better be great. Because that 30-minute film means that there are 6 5-minute films that are not getting in. There are 6 filmmakers that are going to be mad that they didn't get in because we made this one guy happy. I'd rather make 6 people happy than one person. Now, if it's a great 30-minute film that we can't say no to, that's a rare breed, but yeah, we'll take it.
the ugly truth is
Most of them.
the ugly truth is that a lot of us film festivals don't want to, sound rude or sound like jerks and just say out loud, but it's still true. Is the longer your short film is, the better it better be.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's the truth.
I'm sorry, but it's how it is. I'm much more willing to forgive a 3-minute micro short with a ton of flaws than a 24-minute long short with fewer flaws but more glaring ones. Just saying.
Because again, so many of these films were done because someone had what they thought was a cool idea, a good twist, a good mashup or something. And that only deserves maybe 5 or 6 minutes to get the point across.
Then they stretch it out.
They stretch it out.
Which brings us to our next thing. Your pacing matters.
Yeah.
God, your pacing matters. If you're telling a story through film, and you are, imagine that your film is speaking like any person around a campfire would be speaking to a group of people. Like I'm speaking to you all right now. How are we pacing this out? Am I just trolling on and on and on and on and on and getting one to the point? Or am I making a point and building on that? You see what I'm saying? Your pacing is the most important thing about your film, I'd say.
Since drones became cheap, one of the real problems I'm seeing in a lot of short films, they spent money on this drone, and by God, they are going to let us know that they have a drone. It goes on for so long. It's like, I get it, you're in the woods.
We're going to fly that drone over these woods.
I mean, it's almost become a cliche to open your film with a drone shot. But I understand because it's a great way to establish that we are in the woods. But yeah, we get it. And if someone's walking through the woods, they don't need to see every rock, every tree, every nook and cranny. They walk around the corner. Like, is this when something jumps out of them? No, just some more walking. Like, ooh, this really needs to be cut down. People do fall in love with every shot, with every line. It's Christine's a very good editor. I guess a lot of editing is knowing this looks good, it sounds good, everything's good about it, but it doesn't really push the story along.
I was just going to say a good way to get that, to keep it short and practice getting just the shots you want is to enter the 48-hour film festival. Because you've only got 48 hours to make a movie, and you have to do it quickly. You have to know exactly what you want. You have to be really, really organized.
You gotta have your team ready. If you don't know what this is,
Yeah.
it's in a number of cities. You get together on a Friday. They reach things out of a hat. You get a couple genres, Western or suspense, whatever. And they give you a line that has to be in it to make sure people don't film these ahead of time.
Prop that has to be in it.
There's a prop that has to be in it, someone's name, a few things just to guarantee that you are going to shoot the film. Friday night, you get together, we get together over
Mexican
Mexican food
Yeah.
and hash out an idea. Christine goes home, writes the script,
Or you do.
or me, or
Yeah.
whoever, or
Yeah.
a bunch of us.
Yeah.
And then Saturday we shoot. Sunday night, no sleep for her. She has to edit it on
Saturday night.
Saturday night, edit it, and start rendering it. Oh my God, listen, rendering.
It's not as bad as it used to
No,
be.
it is not as bad as it used to be, but Sunday at the very cutoff time, you have to get it in, and people would be running in, holding their computers, still
I
rendering.
think you can upload them now.
Oh, good.
I think so. Yeah.
There were a lot of tears.
Yeah.
And
It's
especially-
hard. You have literally 48 hours to
Yeah.
do the whole process.
Now, it's not going to be the best movie that you can shoot. It's the best movie you
But
can
it's
shoot in that
great
very
for
limited amount of
practice.
time.
It's really great for practice, especially seeing how well you deal with pressure. Being under pressure.
We've
You
had
can
some,
survive in 48.
we've had
It's a
some
big
successes in that too. We did some good
movie.
films.
Yeah.
It came out surprisingly well. But by that point, we had our team. We knew who we had. Once we had the general idea of what it is that they're going for, what the line is, you try to bounce off of that. Try not to make it too obvious. Like one year, I think one of my favorite ones, there was you had to have strawberries. Had to be strawberries in the story. And I think one of the mistakes people make with that is they immediately say, okay, we're going to have it's a movie about
The whole movie
strawberries.
is about
The whole movie's about
strawberries.
strawberries. Well, there's going to be a bunch of those, and by the time you see the fourth or fifth short revolving around strawberries, you're sick of them. You're really sick of the best one. Some of them, they did it, and I can't remember what the story was about, but this woman had a bowl of raspberries. Now, and okay, the rules are, if they say you need a bowl of strawberries and you have a bowl of raspberries, you are disqualified. And we're watching this, and we're like, oh my God. Oh no, it's so good, everything's so good, raspberries, and all the way to the almost to the very end, and then she plucks out a strawberry and eats it. It's like, yeah, oh, we were, yay, standing ovation. I was like, I love that subversion of the audience and everything was really clever. Some people get musical and they're actually writing music on the fly about the story. That's a talent I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, hear me out. Attack the Killer Superheroes. But it's strawberries.
But strawberries.
Oh my God, we were thinking the same thing.
You can have a bunch of little tiny strawberries marching to kill you. Yeah, so
You think like Dave Harlequin, I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry. Oh, and but speaking of killing stuff, and speaking of editing, it's so important to also remember to kill your darlings, murder them,
Yeah.
kill them. I'm going to start with our editor on that one.
Yeah, like when Bill writes 10 pages of dialogue for one scene, you might want to cut it down to 1 page.
I'm a big Tarantino.
I've killed so many of Bill's darlings.
Some of my best
many of
jokes.
Bill's
Some of my best
darlings.
jokes. Just
Yeah, he had his wife in the bathtub in Forever Dead. He wanted that scene to go on for like 20 minutes. Torturing her in the bathtub.
she was a good sport.
We're working through some stuff here.
And it still seemed too long at 10 minutes.
She actually sped up the.
Oh my God. Yeah. That's what happened.
You're giving people an entirely wrong impression of the marriage.
Yeah. She didn't do too many films after that.
No. And that's the thing. That is something to keep in mind. You may find that some people, it's on their bucket list to be in a film. It's not something they necessarily want to be doing for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
And so you do it. You had a great time. You had a great time, and you're like, "We're going to do another one." They're like, "Oh, yay!" And then we're going to do a third one. They're like, "Yeah." And then eventually, people will actually create conflicts just to get out of doing it. So, don't assume everybody is going along for the ride.
Yeah.
Don't assume anything. See what people sign up for, what's going on in their lives. They can do that. And maybe also another thing, divvy up things. Like we would say, okay, Alan, you're the light guy. You get some extra money, get a light. Get some lights. Keep up with what's going on in the magical world of lighting. Someone else is the sound guy. It's hard for one person to buy all these things. They've gotten cheaper now. They've also gotten better. And some of them have gotten more expensive, way better. If people, I'm going to go buy a DSLR, I'm going to get a Canon, because she's got a Canon. Let's everyone get Canon. That way we can interchange the lenses. It's a whole lot easier to do that. Make a team out of it.
Yeah, and then, if you can afford it, get your own equipment. And don't always rely on other people to have the equipment because, especially with indie films, sometimes people just don't show up and you can't shoot your scene. So you don't have to stop.
And there is drama. It's inevitable. There's conflict. Unfortunately.
Yes.
There's friendships can come and go. And that's because it's a stressful environment. The best of us can get a little snippy sometimes when we're hangry and tired. And
3 a.m.
3 a.m. The sun is coming as it inevitably does, and this is supposed to be taking place at night.
Yeah.
400 Ways to Kill a Vampire. Did I really think we're going to be able to shoot that in 2 nights? Idiot. No way. No way.
Hey, we
Oh,
were
God.
shooting it in the summertime when it didn't get dark until late.
Only
So,
always schedule yourself, especially the earlier you get. The earlier you are in the process of filmmaking, schedule yourself at least one more day than you think you need.
Absolutely.
We call that the day for pickups. And that just basically means, all right, we're going to do this. For example, we're going to shoot a short film in 2 days. Cool. And we're going to schedule that Sunday to set it aside for pickups. Really, that's, well, crap, we screwed this up, or this didn't work, or we forgot to get this, or what have you, or somebody didn't show up. Anything can happen, and it usually will. So plan for that. Always plan for something to go horribly wrong, something to go awry, something or someone to screw up royally, because it's probably going to happen. So if you plan for it, and if you're as prepared as you can be, it really, really will help.
It helps if you don't make everything an ensemble cast. We
Oh,
have
yes.
never succeeded in not doing that.
no, we haven't.
Always.
Yeah.
One of those first
Missing a
films,
post
We were
was
doing a
probably
zombie
the worst.
apocalypse, and you can't have a zombie apocalypse with at least a few scenes of like a lot of zombies.
Yeah.
So,
also, if you can, bring yourself on somebody, find people who have more experience with this than you do, and work with them. If it's your first time directing, make sure you got an assistant director there that's directed a lot to help you, for
Good
example.
idea. Yeah.
There was one when I was first starting out that I'm like, all right, here's this amazing shot. We're going to line this up. We're going to set this up. I didn't think about it because I'm not a cinematographer. Luckily, I had a great AD and a great cinematographer there that, okay, hold on a second now. We love this idea, but like we need to break this up some. You have no idea the amount of moving parts you just said. And they laid it out for me and showed me like this has all got to move in sync together. Maybe we could shoot this differently. So yeah, my point being is always rely on people with more experience than you and pick their brains as much as you
Yeah.
can.
Listen to them.
And always accept and be willing to be open to different ideas. Because chances are they might know a way to do this just as good or even better and do it simpler.
and at the end of, we did a film called A Few Brains More, the most snake-bit production you could ever imagine working on. I'm very proud of it. Made a lot of great friends there. Near the end of this big shoot, our 2 main actors were like, oh, they were so nervous about coming to us. And like, we just had some, we weren't really sure about the ending, about the motivation of the characters that they were playing and everything. And they made their case, and we're like, it's a compelling thing. We wrote a new ending.
Yep.
And it's so superior to what we had.
I don't even remember the old ending now.
No, I actually don't.
Yeah.
That's how great it was.
Yeah.
So, now some people, and I've worked with some folks where, no, everything must be said as it was written. They just wouldn't take advice. They've gotten very, put a line to it. Here's one of the problems. Indie films. When you're working with, like Mr. Hogan, working on real Hollywood stuff, the director does this, the AD does this. On an indie film, the director might be the cinematographer, might be
People
the
wear
editor.
many hats.
Yeah.
Chief janitor in chief.
And I think, unfortunately, some people get the idea that a lot of people think that the director is responsible for everything in the film. Those people are called directors. The reality is very different on most productions. So, no, it's a mistake. If the director is also having to focus the camera, it's too many things. There's too many moving parts.
But that's something else to consider with that is that the smaller your crew is, the more you are going to do.
Yeah.
Some people,
It's also cheaper that
so
way.
it is cheaper that way. Some people like it that way.
Yeah.
Some people are masochists, I guess.
I envy animators because literally it can be just them.
The crew is you.
Yeah, we've had some good films come in that were The credits were short. It was
I'd love
all
to
done
do that,
with
you know, but I can't draw.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the one caveat to it. You got to be able to draw it into animation.
I expect we're going to see a lot of that because I think they're saying Adobe Premiere is planning on coming out with something where you take your script and generate thumbnails, and then
Like
After
AI storyboarding.
Effects will take your thumbnails and turn it into animation. So
What?
we're going to be flooded with the crap.
We're gonna get so
Oh my
many.
God.
We're gonna get so many of those films.
I'm not afraid of AI taking over, at least not yet, because I've seen what it can do, what it's capable of doing. It's capable of doing a lot of cool things. But on the creative aspect, like AI,
It has no soul.
no, and it's all. I mean, when you read news reports now, and you're like, God, that was a garbage written article. It's like, no, it did the best it could, but it's not human.
Yeah.
It doesn't understand how bad this reads and how uninformative it was.
I'm not really scared of artificial intelligence. I'm way more afraid of organic stupidity.
Well, I'm a little nervous. It's artificial intelligence is getting dumber because
Because it's programmed
it's
by-
learning from
People.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, that's one
Dumb
problem. People are trolling it. People are trolling
Oh,
like
that
Google
too.
AI, and so it's making suggestions like putting Elmer's glue on your pizza to keep cheese firmer, and but also as like I think AIR. It seemed like AIR was getting really cool, and then it very much plateaued. And I'm not as impressed. I don't know if it's because I'm getting familiar with it, or if that it's now learning more from other AI art than it was before. It was learning from humans, and so it's beginning to get very homogeneous,
Interesting.
easier to spot.
We should do a panel sometime called AI wrote this panel. And just let AI make the panel for us, and we just read whatever it
So we were talking
suggests.
about this, that AI writes the questions. We have like 5 panelists. They have answers. One of them was generated by AI and see if the audience can figure out.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
We should talk a little bit of the cons out there that we're gonna do.
And then at one point,
Well, I think we
rips
do
off
this
their
panel.
face and it's like a robot underneath.
It was me all along. But yeah, any questions? Anybody looking to get started into film or do more with film? That have any
How many
questions?
folks here
comments,
are, well,
concerns?
obviously some filmmakers here.
No? Alright. This is gonna be an easy panel.
And,
Yes.
If someone was interested in writing a book about a crew that does make a movie, what kind of research other than actually making a movie could one do to write that?
Ooh.
Sense?
Behind the scenes videos are going to be helpful, but you know, like I'd look into the parody films about making movies, such as the Disaster Artist about making The Room. That is,
Are you talking about like writing a fiction book about characters that are making a movie?
Yes, I have an idea where it's a group that does make a movie, and there's a little bit of romance and also horror aspects. But then when I sat down with the research of, okay, what would they talk about? What would they do? What's the process?
I
was like,
suggest-
I don't even know.
And I'm not saying it's
Yeah,
got,
I
I'm
was
not
gonna
saying
say.
it's got to be us. My suggestion is
Yeah.
you put out a call that you have beer and pizza, and Dave and I and a bunch of others will come and just record everything we say.
Yeah.
There's so many stories. That's my favorite part of filmmaking is the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
hanging out
And
on
it is
a movie
a
set.
great setting for whatever story you want to tell because
Yeah.
it's got a cast
Like
of
it's drama,
characters.
it's yeah.
Yeah, like I said, hang it. That plus, watch films like The Disaster Artist. Watch films
Disaster
that
Artist is good. There's another one. What was
What
the
about
one?
Fix It in Post?
Fix It in Post would
Fix It in
absolutely
Post
work.
is a
Yeah.
fictional movie that we made based on the premise of a bunch of lousy
Filmmakers.
filmmakers who are there when the apocalypse happens and are trying to use their non-existent skills to survive in this post-apocalypse world.
Yeah.
There was a film, I think it's called American Horror Film. It's about the making of this movie, Coven, where this guy just basically begs, borrows, and steals money to make this garbage film, but it's kind of cute.
Ed Wood would be another good film about films that are
Old school.
about
Depends on what time
making.
period.
Yeah. So that's what I would suggest.
Watch the one about the making of Boondock Saints.
Oh, yeah, that
This
was
guy actually hired people to watch as he's making the movie, and we watch him self-destruct,
Oh wow.
which is the best story. There are a lot of folks do. A lot of this is almost a sign. It's not a proof, but it's almost a sign that things are going to go south when You go on a low-budget movie set, and these folks, maybe it's their first or second movie, and they actually have someone that's filming everything, documenting every moment of this brilliance. That's a level of, yeah.
It's so uncomfortable to work on this set. But I don't like. I gotta think. I don't like being on
We can tell you
cameras.
we can tell you stories of people who were shooting the movie and were already designing the action figures that would go in this movie. I mean, they were so far down the line. And this is where I'm not going to name any names,
I know. You're
but we
talking
talk about realistic expectations. They expected, on the basis of the movie we had made, Forever Dead.
Forever Dead, just not.
They were under the impression, because they apparently had been told, I've heard different stories from different people, but apparently they believed that all of us, Christine, myself, one other person, had earned $91,000?
I think it was 91,000.
$91,000 each.
This was 20 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
And they called me up at some point, like, can we ask you a very personal question? And they asked me, is it true? And I started laughing, and there was dead silence on the other end of the line. And I said, listen, guys,
I didn't make $91 on
is
this.
more than twice what I make teaching high school. If I could do that doing something I absolutely love, don't get me wrong, I like teaching high school, but I love making movies. Why would I be wasting my time I'll be teaching on the weekends and making movies for the rest of the time. No, nobody's doing that. The movie's not going to make that much. It's not going to make close. That lie was so big.
$91,000 each.
And
There's
so,
been productions I didn't make $91.
and so they threw all their resources into making their own bad low budget.
Oh,
No, they
oh.
were gonna, the money
Oh,
was
these idiots!
The
You
money
make
is
that much
coming.
money. We're going to make twice as much because we know what we're doing. No, you didn't do even the basic research. One of these characters got divorced. His wife probably got tired of all the money that was going toward this movie. And I was at his house, and I said, "I'm sorry, I'm going through this. It's rough." He goes, "Yeah, it's all right. She got the car and the house, but I made sure I had total rights to the movie." And it was every fiber of my being,
it
just
hurts.
not to, oh, you poor
You
dumb
poor man.
fool.
You should have kept
us
the
wake
house,
up
bud.
laughing every morning. Put that in your book. No one will believe it. Oh my God, that was.
That's another thing with that is talk to filmmakers. Every filmmaker's got some crazy, wild stories of behind the scenes stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So
And,
much could go wrong.
Yeah, like I just pointed out, some of it you wouldn't even believe it was real. We swear it was.
I'm afraid to write a book about that because everyone will be reading it saying, "Is he talking about me?" No.
No, of course
I would imagine it's basically going online and like looking up like any director interviews that have ever been taken.
You're going to get the truer
Amazing.
version of that, from experience, you're going to get the truer version of that story at events like these. And just like listening in on us talking to each other.
Oh,
Generally, we're a lot nicer and cleaner in the professional interviews.
Right, because you don't.
Because we know that shit's going to
I have to
last.
work with this
Somebody's
person.
going to write this down.
Yeah, nobody wants to hire someone who immediately starts trashing everything.
Yeah.
And I don't admire that. I mean, some of our films are better than others, but they were all made with love. We all had a great time making them. We learned a lot from each one. Our last film was our best film.
Yeah.
So, all right, we got that going.
By the way, yeah, your first films, probably your first, at least one, but probably your first two or three are going to outright, flat out suck. And that's okay. That's totally okay. It's all part of it.
Our first film, I don't even know how to describe whether it's in color or black and white. The answer is yes. It was filmed in color, but because of some exposure issues,
Oh, the joke.
yeah. It's hard to really say what it is. It's unique. So it's got that going for it, but that's totally accidental.
Yeah.
So you
I
learn.
would consider that one to be my first film.
Came
All
before
I did was write the scripts.
No.
Yeah. Huh? Oh, second death.
And then we took that and incorporated it into writing first feature. So your first film, in other words, was a feature film.
Yes.
Exactly what we said. No, it would be insane. to do.
And they also tell you don't do historical films for your first film. So the second film we did was a zombie western.
Now, we had the good fortune that there was a wonderful man who had built, he was a cowboy actor in his youth, and built a replica western town in his backyard.
Still exists today.
Yeah, but I don't
But
know.
he does not.
He does not. He was a great
It's
guy.
kind of.
He had all the costumes. He and his buddies would get together, dress up like cowboys, and
They have
Drake
horses,
on the weekend.
they
They
have
have horses.
horse-drawn wagons.
when we asked if we could shoot a film there, it's like, well, okay, but here's what you got to do. You got to put us in the film. We're like, oh, well, you drive a hard bargain there, Bill.
He
But
charges like $75 for the weekend.
Oh, damn it, we gotta have extras.
Yeah.
All right, but you're twisting my arm. I spoil you guys now.
We have been very lucky.
yes,
Very lucky.
she had a title, Fistful of Brains, greatest title ever. And but who? It turns out there's a lot of sets out there.
In North Carolina, there's an
Yeah.
amazing set.
But then once they find out, again, if you find a good set and people who let you do it, please be good.
Oh, yeah.
Leave
Yeah.
it looking as good as you found it, because if you don't, they'll never let anyone else do it again. You'll find that it's like, yeah, you seem like a nice guy, but I let some student filmmakers come here and they pretty much trash the place. And don't be that person.
Also, a good bit of advice is don't be afraid to ask. The worst they're going to do is tell you no. And by the way, if you're starting out in indie film, get used to getting told no. It's going to happen so much. So much. Don't be afraid of it. It's the worst they're going to do is tell you no. But ask. You never know when somebody's going to say yes. Maybe they will.
Yeah,
You know,
a lot of
here's
people are
this
very-
actor that I like. Hey, look, I don't have a lot of money. I can't pay your rate. Would you maybe want to be in this story? Can I show you a script? Chances are it's probably no, or you're going to get the Hollywood version of no, which is talk to my agent. Still, it's no. But on the indies. But I'm joking, but not really. But you know, maybe they'll say yes. Maybe they will. You never know. I've gotten great soundtracks like that, just reaching out to bands and stuff like, hey, do you want to be in this film? Can I use
Bands
this
are
song?
good. Local
And a
bands
lot of
are
them will be
great
like,
resource.
yeah, absolutely. But you get told no a lot more than you get told yes, but it's worth it when you do get told yes.
We had a scene in Blood and Mummy with a local band, and it's a great scene. It's a great song. It definitely boosts the production value of that movie having it.
Oddly enough, they were, we used their music in our very first film.
Oh wow.
Yeah. A lot of their music was in Forever Again.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good resource, and of course, also local bands bring their own fan base. If there's fans who,
That's true.
and just because you've never heard of this band, surprisingly, they may have a following. It might be a local following, might just be in Charlotte, but they do have a following, and those people, they come in.
That you can write that scene of that character goes to that concert of that band, and it's just that band having a real concert, and you
Yeah.
film it. It works.
Kind of like Buffy the Vampire Slayer did.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like The Crow did. Yeah. So yeah, overarching point on that is just don't be afraid to ask. Remember, the worst you're going to get done is told no.
A lot of people, especially once you've done this for a
Go,
while,
Jason.
you kind of get used to it. Oh yeah, we make movies. That's what a lot of people. This is like magic. They can't believe that they're talking to a movie maker.
And we're like,
It's so easy. It is so easy to get jaded, and
yeah.
I wish I could tell you how to not. I don't know how to not get jaded.
Oh, okay. So one thing very important: if you haven't been on a movie set, if you think about it, a movie set is, and this is the cliche: hurry up and wait. Very little is
Oh
going
yeah,
on.
it's
There-
not.
There's
it's
more
not
stuff
fast.
not going on than going on, and this is where some people, it's not up to their expectations. Oh yeah, I want to be on a movie set. It's so exciting.
It also might be completely glamorous and super fun and like going to a carnival. If anybody's interested in volunteering.
In reality, you're like, okay, hey Bill, can you do this makeup thing? We're gonna get to it in an hour. It's like, oh, working hard. The hour comes, hour goes.
3 hours later.
The calendar, the pages flip off the calendar. The seasons change.
Oh, never
By the
mind,
time
dude. We
you're
don't need that.
The sun is gone.
No
There's no
beard.
light. Bill, I grow a long bushy beard. My makeup is beginning to age and slide off. That's one thing. The other thing they do to me is we just need you to do some scrapes and bruises. Well, I've learned to ignore that. That's just a lot. Because then you'll get there and you brought your scrape and bruise kit, which is like a stipple sponge and a little bit of makeup. And then they're like, hey, we're thinking, could you do a full-on decapitation or something? Like, not with a stipple sponge I can. You didn't even, no, what are you insane? So now I just bring boxes of everything that
brings
can
everything.
possibly
I'll just bring everything I got.
I got a big card just for that purpose.
Yeah.
And, yeah. because they come up with all kinds of clever ideas. We've made a joke of that in Fix It and Post. That could you do this? Could you do that? I'm like, I'm not a wizard. You
Yeah.
have a little wand, decapitation of a boom. No, I have to make a fake head and I have to have tubes and blood and
Or you could do like getting ahead in the movie business.
right,
Or he just plays himself.
We had a makeup. We did a short film where the makeup guy just kills people,
Yeah.
uses their body parts, accepts the praise for how good they look.
Yeah.
Who looks so real?
The only other thing, if you can, in starting out an indie film, remember that your lighting and your sound are so important.
Sound, especially.
I'm not going to talk too much
Yeah,
about sound because there may or may not be someone in here that's going to talk more about film sound. It's got a twinge more experience than me, who's never worked sound a day. And it's like, no, I'm lying. I worked sound one day in my life. I held a boom pole for about 15 minutes. And holding a boom mic pole for about 15 minutes showed me why I never want to be a sound guy. I'm like, oh my God, my shoulders hurt. How long was I holding it? That was only like 15, 20 minutes,
Did you
dude.
keep it out of the camera frame?
Yeah, actually I did.
If you did, you succeeded. For
Yeah,
some Hollywood
I
productions
succeeded
with
in that, but I want to say, like, my shoulders and arms are hurting. Like, how do you guys do this? This hurts so bad. But seriously, all I will say is bad sound will ruin your film faster than anything else on God's green earth.
Do not use the microphone on the camera.
And on the other side, you don't know how much good lighting can really help your film. Good lighting can make all the difference in the world.
You don't have to have the best equipment for lighting. You just have to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Everything. The cameras
But
are so sensitive now. They can shoot in light that almost
Yeah.
non-existent.
But it does have to do.
But your lighting can tell a story by itself, too.
Yeah, it can. Make your lighting consistent. Like if you're
Yes.
shooting a scene, don't keep moving the lighting around so that they're being lit on this side and on this
Also,
side.
Just worth noting, just because there's light in a room doesn't mean it's going to look good on that camera.
No.
No one, like,
I mean, look at the shadows on a person's face.
Please look at your monitors, or please get a monitor for your
Yeah.
camera and look to see what this movie actually looks like.
Yeah.
Your editor will thank you 1,000 times.
And that's the thing. We look and say, okay, the lighting looks fine. To our eyes, it looks fine. The camera is on.
The lights are on.
And the sound, so if you just filmed what we're doing now, that fan is going to sound like there's a jet engine.
Oh, yeah.
We filter it out. We have the ability. You go into a crowded area here in the con and blah, 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 but you're talking to the person in front of you. Your brain is able to filter out a lot of the blah, blah, blah. The microphone doesn't. A regular microphone, a microphone that takes everything is there. It's just like a cacophony. It's going to be completely awful. The boom will minimize some of that.
One of the first shorts I worked on, we shot most of it inside of an old bar. Like an old bar built in like the late 60s, early 70s. So it was true neon lights, great location, beautiful place. What we did not consider shooting it was that bar had like refrigerators and ice machines and things like that.
No.
We didn't hear it
So noisy.
until we got into the editing room, like, oh shit. And it was just in the background the whole time.
So this is where it's a good idea to film some ambient sound in the back and everything. You might be able to use that to minimize it. I think a lot of people Premiere and After Effects and everything have really improved their sound things where you can hit with a few buttons.
But don't overdo
But
it.
don't depend
Then
on
people
it.
will sound like they're underwater.
Yeah, garbage in can be turned into slightly less garbage out. But if you make it do it right the first time, that'll make it
Then
sound
you don't have
terrific.
to fix it in post.
Yeah.
Which is the point here. It's worth doing it right the first time.
Yeah.
If you can. It's worth doing it right the first time. Let's see here. I think that's about it, isn't it? Yeah, that's about it for us. I got time. We got time for just probably one more audience question if anybody's got one.
Bit more of a technical question. So I've been going through a lot of different softwares, some better than others, some free, some I've paid for. What are editing softwares that you recommend using?
You used to use Final
That you
Cut.
have?
Yeah, I use Final Cut and I also use Premiere. Either one of those are really good.
I like the Adobe Suite. I mean, there are others out there that are free. And partly being a teacher, I get a discount on it too. You get the Adobe Suite, you get Premiere, After Effects, Photoshop.
That doesn't still come with PCs though.
What?
The Adobe Suite does not come.
No.
You
But I
get a
think
monthly
Final Cut
subscription.
still
It's a
comes.
monthly subscription.
I think Final
Yeah.
Cut still comes with Apple computers.
Does it?
I think so.
Okay.
I think you get it. That or iMovie, and I wouldn't recommend iMovie, but
Yeah.
I mean iMovie's there.
For
It's
the
it's a
longest
thing.
time, people insisted if you're going to do editing or anything, Mac, do Mac.
It's
I don't know
not
if that's
true
still true.
anymore. Yeah. I don't think it's true anymore. Because they haven't really focused on their hardware, you know, in a while. They're just getting good phones.
All those things have a tremendous learning curve. The problem with a lot of them is there's so many different ways to do the same thing. So just find a tutorial. Like I said, there's a lot of good tutorials. Spend a day going on YouTube, just putting in whatever
And
Adobe
you do
Premiere.
need a good
Find someone
computer, too.
who you like, their style of presenting things and everything. There's just worlds worth of tutorials out there on how to do it, and find the way you want. I'm not one of these people who like shortcuts necessarily, and do this. Use your prehensile tail, and then we'll do that. It's like,
Yeah.
no. I'll do the long way, thank you. But if you can find someone who has all that expertise but remembers what it was like to be a complete noob, that's a good resource.
You need to make sure you have a good process going to gaming computers.
Yeah, get a gaming computer.
They're
Get-
really
yeah.
good.
Don't need to play a game on it, but gaming computers are excellent for making rendering less.
Not really
Keep-
visual.
Keep all your footage on external hard drives, not on your computer.
Save some to the cloud.
It
too.
helps
Put them-
helps your processing.
and just for those disasters where suddenly
Always
something
back-
fails.
have a
Always
backup of your backup.
Always.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. External hard drives. I have them. So not really visual effects, but probably the most important computer program I would say. Maybe I'm a little biased being that I am a screenwriter, but Final Draft. Have Final Draft.
Is good.
I like
It
scripts.
is-
Is it Celtic Celtics?
Celtics used to be great, but then
But not
they,
anymore, huh?
no, they changed.
Yeah, that's
I
what
like
we used to
Scrivener
use.
now. for
It's
writing,
easy.
and it's got its own screenplay
Yeah.
format
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, having something to write screenplays with. I like Final Draft myself just because it's simple, easy, and kind of industry standard at this point. And it'll do most of the hard work for you. It'll do the formatting for
It
you.
lets you do the call sheets and all that stuff
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, it lets you do all of that now.
It is a dedicated program to screenwriting, so that
Yeah.
it has that language.
But yeah, use all the tools you can. And there's a lot of resources out there. There's a lot of free resources out there. Sometimes they won't be exactly what you want, but you get what you pay for. Which is the final thing I'll leave you guys on. Remember, in all film and all things, you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to break your bank.
But it doesn't have to kill you. All right, guys, that does it for us.
Thank you
for coming out. And catch the other stuff we're doing this weekend.
Yes. What time is it?